Hi, my name is Dr. Haneesha. I'm a neurodevelopmental and behavioral pediatrician here at Neuropedia. Today, let's learn about some behavior management techniques. These are some strategies which parents can use to promote positive behaviors in children and also address the challenging behaviors when in need. Tip number 1, positive reinforcement technique. Now, this plays wonders in helping raise appropriate behaviors in most children. What exactly is that we need to do? We need to reinforce behaviors which are appropriate through positive rewards and reinforcements. Let's say you want your child to clean up after playing with the toys. And if your child's actually finishing the cleaning up process, you need to reinforce this behavior through appropriate rewards. The rewards could be a praise. It could be any kind of a verbal appraisal, a star, making their favorite food, letting them play with their favorite toy, or in some instances, it could also be an outing. This helps them to improve and promote such behavior subsequently because they associate this to a reward and a positive experience. Tip number 2, setting clear expectations and rules. Most often, when we see children have challenging behaviors across different settings, it could be home, it could be school, or it could be an outside environment, children often lack to understand what is expected in terms of their behavior. So as parents or caregivers, it's important to sit with them, especially older children, and come in terms of what are the expectations in terms of their behaviors, what would be the subsequent consequences to each of these behaviors. These rules help children understand what is expected out of them and what would be a consequence to a particular kind of behavior. We could again use the reinforcement technique here when there is a positive behavior and handle with different techniques if there is a challenging behavior inside. Tip number 3 is consistency in behaviors. Now, as parents, it's important for us to have consistency in our consequence to the behavior of the child, both for good behaviors and bad behaviors. Now, we often notice that there is a lack of consistency among different caregivers or different people whom the child is around with. Tip number 4 is redirection and distraction. Now, this is something which often works when there is a challenging behavior. It's important as caregivers to recognize what is the setting which is causing this challenging behavior, and it helps when we can distract the child into another activity, or if it's an older child, we can provide them with an alternative choice which seems to be feasible, fair, and consistent as per both the child as well as the caregiver. Now, this could also include certain timeout strategies where the child understands that this is what is expected for their behavior and they are able to redirect themselves and come back to handle the primary situation a lot better. Tip number 5 is clear communication and active listening. Often, when there's a setting of a challenging behavior, there's a lot of chaos that has been set in. It's important for us as caregivers to stay calm and composed. We often see that children are trying to communicate, but they're not able to do this effectively. So it's important for us to provide an opportunity to help them communicate, and it's also important for us to listen and give them an opportunity to speak, express themselves, and be open for a dialogue. And also, as caregivers, remember to use appropriate language to maintain an eye contact and show empathy and validate the feelings that the child has or is trying to communicate with you. Tip number 6 is time in and teaching emotional regulation. What is time in? We often know that children can feel overwhelmed and do not know how to regulate themselves. In such situations, we often advise parents to provide them with a calm, safe space where they can regulate themselves and reflect upon the situation that they are in. It also helps in co-regulating them, helping them be aware of their emotions, label, express themselves, and find strategies which can help them to regulate. Now, some of the strategies which work really well could be taking deep breaths, which helps them calm down and understand their emotions. And also, some of the strategies which could be helpful for older children could be using, let's say, like a stress ball or hugging their soft toy or finding anything which could be comforting and securing. Or even say something as simple as counting from 1 to 10 or 20, which gives them enough time to overcome the period of emotional outburst and rather to calm, console, and reflect upon the situation and act accordingly. We encourage parents to use these different behavior management techniques to help their children regulate and establish a positive behavior and address the challenging behaviors. And do not forget to seek professional guidance when in need. Positive reinforcement plays a huge role in establishing a positive parent-child interaction, which in turn helps in improving the overall development and abilities of the child.